Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I have a new video every 24 hours. Insane, I know. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We are currently riding the wave of optimism for the cryptocurrency space. First of all the analysts except for one have been incredibly bullish on the cryptocurrency market for the last couple of months. Now, on top of that, we're kind of riding this idea that the cryptocurrency space and Bitcoin are going to have brand new all-time highs. The indicators apparently for altcoins as well and altcoin season are also quite high as long as Bitcoin's dominance on the market continues to decline. In very popular news, we should have all seen this one coming. I don't know why they're still, not that part, but why they're still doing the other part. MicroStrategy continues to pretend that they're not buying more coins. First of all, a month or 2 months ago, they announced that they were going to be pausing their Bitcoin purchases, and then the following week they bought more Bitcoin. Got it. And then they recently announced, if you weren't here for that video, that they said when Bitcoin was like at 77,000, they said if Bitcoin's price doesn't go up, we can't buy anymore. And I think like a day later, prices began to move up, which I also found a little bit special. And alas, here we are once again. MicroStrategy is following through on its plans to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. They stated before that they will have over 1 million Bitcoin. On TV, Michael Saylor said he doesn't care if Bitcoin's over $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million. He will continue to buy because he thinks that Bitcoin, he's one of the people who thinks that Bitcoin is going over $100 million per coin. According to on-chain data from a company called Look On Chain, okay, kind of spot on. MicroStrategy, led by Michael Saylor, now holds close to $47 billion worth of Bitcoin after a massive $500 million buying spree last week. There's two parts to this story, one that I also missed because there's so much going on, and then they said that they weren't going to do it or they would take longer, and that was also a lie because it's just what they've been doing over and over. Their accumulation pattern used to be every 1 or 2 months, and now it's almost looking like weekly that they're purchasing around $500 million plus worth of Bitcoin. I stand by this, and I will until December. By the time we get to the end of this year, they're going to hold over 1 million Bitcoin. It says, and I quote, strategy bought another 6,556 Bitcoin at an average price of $84,000 last week. Strategy currently holds 538,200 Bitcoin with an average buying price of $67,000 and an unrealized profit of $10.36 billion. The last we heard like in major news, after they said they weren't going to be buying anymore, they had around, was it like 420,000, 425? It was whatever the number was, it wasn't as high as this one. And then they bought a huge amount, then another huge amount. And when they finally were near, I think like 480 something thousand Bitcoin, I was like, they're going to hit 500,000 by the end of this year. By the time if we keep up with current just mathematical logic, by the time we get to July or August, and I'm putting that as like a halfway point in some sort of stance. We're probably going to see them having 650 or 700,000 Bitcoin at that point, which is also just completely insane if you actually think about it. There's a chart which I've never seen before in my life, but apparently it's like all of their purchases over the course of multiple years is interesting to look at, even like some of the times when you see like Bitcoin's price being really low on the chart and how many that, or how little, air quote, that they bought. Like at some point they only bought like 32 Bitcoin and then it went up to like 51,000. It's a very interesting way to purchase. They purchased Bitcoin at 28,000 as well, $16,000 Bitcoin. Very fascinating. So yeah, this was major news, and part of the one that I missed was the previous purchase before this that got them to 531,000 Bitcoin. It said it's equivalent to over 2.5% of Bitcoin's total supply of 21 million, which I think is also a little weird because a lot of people keep, and I get it, 21 million Bitcoin, amazing. But people keep using that number as the correct number when we know that there are millions of Bitcoin actually lost and gone and frozen on chain or in burn addresses. A lot of people still, I don't, if you can explain this to me, go for it. So the Satoshi Nakamoto address is considered now a burn address. Basically meaning it's like it's like a black hole kind of. You throw something into it, you never kind of see it again, as we all assume that Satoshi's never going to use that wallet address. You know, there are people who like send their Bitcoin there to like lessen the supply of it's not a joke. People send their Bitcoin there to lessen the circulating supply of Bitcoin to make Bitcoin rarer. And I don't understand the point of even thinking of doing something like that. But on top of that, all the other wallet addresses and the people who've lost their key phrases and all these other, you understand what I'm talking about. So they hold clearly around 5, 6, 7% of all the Bitcoin that there is. And by the time we get to 1 million, well, that's just going to be completely swell. Yeah, very popular news all the time. People still think, believe, have it in their heart of hearts, this idea that every time that MicroStrategy buys, it actually brings prices up and an angel gets their wing, or one wing, not wings. Angel gets a wing. So yeah, very cool. I said this before. I would wish them luck, but they're worth hundreds of billions of dollars, so they're going to be just fine. They don't need my words of encouragement. That's the MicroStrategy continues to buy all the Bitcoin while 8 billion people on the planet just aren't paying a lick of attention. And yeah, let's move on. A lot of whale news is circulating around if you've seen the last couple of videos here. It says, since early March, analysis shows that new whales have entered the market and have started acquiring Bitcoin. So far, 66 of these whales have each purchased no less than 1,000 Bitcoin, each having $85 million worth of Bitcoin. If you didn't see, was it the last video or the video before that? It was, of course, more whale news as well, as prices recovered from the last couple of months, saying that specific whales that they had charted who had anywhere from 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin had been accumulating so much Bitcoin, just those wallets, not the ETFs, not with people over 1,000 Bitcoin, not with people under 100 Bitcoin, not with people over 10,000 Bitcoin, not any corporation, individual whales had purchased 3 times 300% the amount of Bitcoin that had been produced over the last couple of weeks. So once again, whales always do this. This isn't anything like new or spectacular, like, oh my gosh, like why is this happening? No, they've been doing it for a while. That's what I was talking about, the magic trick the last couple of months. The whale news has constantly always been the same, but it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. This isn't a joke. If prices are going down and I bring whale news, you can't begin how weird the comment section actually looks, because people start like complaining and screaming. It doesn't make sense to them how whales could be buying, but the prices aren't moving. So when prices do move and then there's whale news, they go, oh, of course. Nope, they've been doing this for a very long time. A very, very, very long time. And they're going to own all the Bitcoin. And that's something that the world is going to have to deal with in the future when Bitcoin's at $17 million and people realize that they have 38,000 Satoshis and nothing more. Yeah, whales continue to slosh around in the market, ever buying more and more Bitcoin. Also in, I want to say popular news. I don't even know. We haven't heard about this. It has to be years. That's not a joke. We used to have news like this every quarter. For some reason, a huge narrative years ago for a number of coins had to do with burning. Yeah, remember that? So constantly in the news, almost every other day, was how much ether was being burned. Ether has a burn mechanism, and every time that ether is used on the network, a huge amount of Ethereum ends up getting burned. Therefore, as new ether is created, and the burn also happens, it's kind of leveling out the amount of ether that there is. Got it. Remember when we were having almost daily, this was crazy, Shiba Inu news. Shiba Inu is a coin that people love, question mark. The creators of the coin at some point announced that there were too many coins, and we had, burn news every day. The burn rate went up by 300%, 24,000%, this many, and it was like, okay, cool. There were calls for people to, people were telling Charles Hoskinson that he needed to initiate some kind of a burn thing on Cardano. And he came out and was like, yeah, well, the only reason you want that is for your coins to, be worth more. People were like, yeah, exactly. So he was like, burn your own coins. He was like, I'm going to create a burn address and you send them there, and you've essentially, lowered the circulating supply of Cardano. And that was the complete end of that conversation, because everyone always wants someone else to do it, but never them. The main one that was around for a number of years was for Binance. A lot of people don't know, but if you actually look at the price chart for Binance, it's actually genius. The creation of Binance Coin basically brought about the creation of a burn mechanism. I think it originally began at 200 million. I think that's the number, 200 million Binance Coin. And at some point quarterly, every couple of months, they burn a huge amount of them, lowering the supply. The legend supposedly being that they only want to have 100 million Binance Coin. But I think that's also been scrapped. And I think if you can correct me, please do. I remember last year someone discussing that they might just continue burning at a lower rate, but continuously burning. This is if you look at the price chart for Binance Coin, it was $5 before, and now it's several $100s consistently because of this mechanism. So back in popular news, the Binance Coin ecosystem has officially completed another quarterly burn of BNB tokens, this time incinerating. Wow. Incinerating tokens worth nearly $1 billion US. Completely gone. Those coins have been destroyed forever. The disclosure came from the Binance Coin Foundation, which confirmed the completion of the 31st burn in its ongoing quarterly sales. Specifically, the team destroyed 1.5 million Binance tokens worth approximately $916 million at the time of the transaction. It says, however, despite the large scale, the recent burn amount marks a decline from the previous quarter For context, in the 30th burn, they burned 1.63 million tokens valued at that's insane. Valued at 1.16 billion US dollars. This used to be news all the time, but I think a lot of maybe it's just not as exciting. I don't really know. It's very similar to the proof of reserves. Every crypto exchange after FTX for 3 months was telling us how many coins they had and this, and now that's also never in the news either. So yeah, cool. I guess it's not one of my holdings. It's not that I don't believe that Binance will be around for a while. It's just like I have too many other things to invest in. I'm not thinking about Binance or Binance Coin right now, but cool. Yeah, we'll see as they ever get closer to their 100 million coins, if it ends up going well beyond that. I assume that it will. A lot of people, how do I say this? Institutions consider Binance to be the Amazon of the space. For those of you who didn't know that, it's meant to be like this company who's kind of prominent, but also in the background that many like big investors are getting into, but the general public tends to ignore and or just use for crypto exchanges. That's the Binance news. Moving along. Also wow, cool. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. How awesome everything constantly is over and over. Japanese firm Metaplanet. Metaplanet has issued another $10 million zero coupon bond to buy more Bitcoin, aiming for 21,000 Bitcoin sometime in the year 2026. Metaplanet, and there's another company doing the same thing now as well. I don't have them here. Metaplanet's back in the news. They're in the news about every 3 days. 3 or 4 days copying, and I say it that way because not many companies would be brave enough to do something like this, issuing tons of debt against their own company and then using the debt and money that they raised to specifically just buy Bitcoin. Metaplanet came out of nowhere. They're extremely popular now. They're usually always in the news. As far as I've heard or read or seen, I believe on the Japanese stock market, they're also like a popular pick now, just because every time that they announce that they're buying more Bitcoin, their stock price goes up. Similar to MicroStrategy, don't use that as investment advice. It's simply something that's currently happening right now. That trend might completely change. Metaplanet strategically uses US dollar funding to avoid high Japanese bank exchange fees, lowering their Bitcoin acquisition cost. Metaplanet's Bitcoin holdings and stock price have shown significant growth, positioning them as a corporate player in crypto. Cool. Awesome. They're really like actually in the news every couple of days. I think last we heard from them, don't they I think 3,500 Bitcoin or something like that. I forgot what it is. I know this year they're trying to get to 10,000 Bitcoin, and then next year they want 21,000 Bitcoin. And I say this being completely nice. I don't know if they're ever going to get to either one of them, simply because they're literally competing with MicroStrategy, the United States of America, the UAE. There's not a lot of Bitcoin left, as I keep going over. So if we do, as many people are assuming now, if we do end up going to a $150,000 Bitcoin, a $275,000 BTC, these purchases are going to get a lot more difficult for the company. That's the Metaplanet news. And yeah, let's move on. Also it's not that this shouldn't be popular. It's more of a, whenever we get news like this, I don't know if people just like overreacting or if the news is simply trying to rile people up or make it seem like that this is kind of like the moment that we've all been waiting for. And it's like, okay. Grocery giant Spar, SPAR, has rolled out Bitcoin-based payments in a Swiss city, marking another step in the growing adoption of crypto for everyday transactions. There's a lot to unpack in that one little sentence. I believe this is in Zug, Z-U-G, the town, city, province area within Switzerland, which over the last 3 years, has become incredibly crypto-friendly. A lot of cryptocurrency companies and institutions and foundations actually launch in Switzerland, and many of them in Zug, which many people don't know. I think the Ethereum Foundation also launched in Switzerland as well, tax reasons, yada, yada, yada. So since then, we've had news that a number of companies have begun accepting crypto and all these other things within this Swiss town. The interesting part is that, and I said this before, this was 2 weeks ago. I want to say New Hampshire. It's probably wrong, but let's say New Hampshire. Some state within the United States announced that they were going to legalize people being able to pay for their tax, municipal fees, etc., in Bitcoin. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen because everyone's expecting Bitcoin's price to go to $1 million. That's just logic at this point. So a supermarket announcing that people can pay for things in Bitcoin is cool. I have my thumb up, but it's cool for the future. It's cool when Bitcoin's at $3, $4, $5 million a coin, and you are spending 14 Satoshis on something as opposed to, several tens of thousands, especially if we ever getting parity to the US dollar. So we've had a lot of news like this for years. It's not that it's not significant, but it's more like, oh, that's cool. I can't wait to use that service in the year 2045 because no one in their right mind is going to be doing it right now. A Spar supermarket in Zug, Switzerland, has implemented Bitcoin payments via the Lightning Network. The store's Bitcoin payments went live on Bitcoin Map, a community-driven product highlighting stores that accept Bitcoin payments. DFX Swiss, a crypto-to-fiat payment solution, announced in an April 17th LinkedIn post. Whoa, that's fun, right? That's a thing. Yeah, so usually what tends to happen, or what has happened before in the past, is that companies and institutions and now governments are announcing their support for Bitcoin or using Bitcoin or being able to pay for things in Bitcoin. It's just a clever way for said institution or government to actually accumulate crypto from you. When you pay for something, they get that crypto, and as the crypto is incredibly finite, and they're looking for basically other ways to not have to spend their own money, they're looking for you to spend your money to be able to buy that crypto. So like I said, very cool. Same exact thing that we heard somewhere in the south of France. You can now pay for the tram and a bus and a kite. You can pay for all of it in crypto, and it's like, that's awesome. I can't wait to visit there when crypto prices are 80x what they are now. Cool. That's the Switzerland news. Fantastical. Yeah. Let's move on. I was actually shocked to hear this one, but okay, here we are. Adam Back. Adam Back is the CEO of Blockstream. And the article calls him a longtime Bitcoin proponent or advocate. And it's like, yeah, he runs Blockstream. What do you think? Do you think this man is going to be supporting Tron? Adam Back recently said, regular everyday people, should be acquiring more Bitcoin ahead of potential government adoption. That's basically it. And I love when things like this happen and it kind of breezes completely by people because a lot of people don't understand this. You've heard me say it 1,000 other times before. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million per coin, you're going to want to have some. If Bitcoin goes to $7 million per coin, you're going to want to have some. If in the future, this entire cryptocurrency thing that we have going actually ends up working out, and the United States has 780,000 Bitcoin, and there's no Bitcoin left on crypto exchanges except from people who are trying to sell, and those coins get bought up by BlackRock, you are going to want to have Bitcoin. It's a really weird, how do I say this? It's weird when someone at the very top has to tell regular people to like do what they should have already been doing in any sort of way. But I think that kind of goes for everything. You know, normal people who don't have any assets getting into the stock market. I mean, even if you just held bonds, at least bonds are getting you more than that 0.2% that you're getting from your bank. I think it's weird that people don't hold assets. I think people think that assets aren't for them. And I don't know how economically they're going to make it in the future, as it's going to be quite rough. A lot of people, I always try and like say stuff nicely, because sometimes, I mean, actually many times, people here have told me that I'm quite abrasive in the way that I say things. I can be like a little bit rough. If you, no. If you actually heard me talk in real life, you would understand that I'm like at a 1 out of 10 right now. I have zero time for or desire, and excuse my French here, for the letters B and S. Stop complaining and just do things. Like there's no, if you are in your 30s and by the time you get to your 40s, you complain that you didn't do enough in your 30s to make enough money, do it in your 40s. The problem is that in their 40s, many people will get into their 50s and then complain in their 50s that they wish they had did more in their 40s. You're 50 something. You're not 103. You're not 88. You're not in a senior home. Just do it. I have zero patience, and I've stopped talking to a lot of people in my life because at some point I assumed that everyone wanted the best for themselves. And you realize that people don't. People like to complain. People like to do so and so. And then when you tell them how to better themselves or make things better for them or their families in the future, and it's something as simple as like putting 150 into a market every single month. Don't look at it. Just put some money there. Watch it grow. I almost said chia. I'm not even half joking. If you know what that is, you are probably my age. And yeah, normal people should be accumulating crypto. Normal people should be accumulating Bitcoin. And I say that in the most logical sense. If we hear that governments are buying up Bitcoin, if we hear that institutions and companies and is being integrated into everything, and you can even go to a supermarket and buy some food now, you can kind of imagine where the space is going to be in 15 years from now. A lot of people in crypto, and I said it in the last video, and once again, it wasn't being mean or even making a joke. Hello, all the people who left for the last 3 months. It's nice to see you back. Good luck. I hope you manage to make as much money as you could have from you leaving the market. But that's just the way that things actually work. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This isn't like some, oh man, I'll check back in 20 years. No, at that point, it'll actually be too late because you'll be buying into a $14 million Bitcoin, trying to accumulate as much as you could have in the present. So yeah, I saw this. I thought it was interesting. No one else was talking about it. People were more consumed with the idea of like quantum computing for Bitcoin and what's going to happen and so and so and so. And it's like, okay, cool. You keep not paying attention. You keep not trying to make money. You keep arguing with people on Twitter. You keep really like you go for it. Like you do whatever you feel is appropriate to make sure that you don't have money in the future, because that's just where a lot of people are going. I think that's going to do it for this video. Make sure that you grasp the chance that you have right now to potentially become a multi-millionaire, because there are 8 billion people who are not doing so. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.